Greetings, comrades. Been a while since I've seen a Wake Sage guide on YouTube. It's kind of concerning, but I've been getting a lot of questions and stuff about the class and like what to do, the information, the mechanics, and well, currently I've been playing the class for about since its release on and off, and I've decided to show off some of the mechanics, how to play it, gameplay examples, skills, everything, how to use it. I think it would be very interesting because the class recently has received a lot of buffs, and I gotta say, it's in a really good spot right now. I wouldn't say it's like at like the current meta, it's not like a fragging monster like, like archers, say, well, like Sage and like Drac and stuff. It's not like super amazing, but I think all in all, it's one of the better rat classes in the game, and it has good 1v1. It's good in almost all areas. 1vx. Uh, it's kind of varies, but yeah, for the most part, 1vx is pretty decent. And I think in almost anywhere except for siege and really big fights like 100v100, it's really good. Anyway, that for ado, let's get into it. Okay, just to start off, I'm going to be going over almost all the skills. If you do already kind of play Sage or you don't really need more of a background check on these skills, feel free to skip to the timestamp that I'll link. For the most part, I want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. For the most part, everyone knows how the class kind of works and all the skills and potential smaller uses for them could be useful. Maybe even might learn something if you're kind of a pro at it. I just figured, hey, I'll share what I got. Maybe even like make some smaller sections in other videos about like some of the more niche mechanics. But yes, you do already know. Skip to the timestamp. Otherwise, let's begin. First, we have Kyve Mastery. There's not much for this skill outside of pocketing, which we will talk about later. It does have a knockback on its jump attacks, which can conjunction with Ator's fists. Not very good outside of mean combos, in my opinion. Maybe you can find a better use, but not much for this skill. Next, we have Ator's fist, which is better in some 1v1 cases. Sometimes you need a re-CC confirm, maybe out of dimensional compression. It's a bit gimmicky, to be honest, but outside of that and form shift, you won't really find yourself using the skill outside of like just for kicks. Don't really recommend it too much, but yeah, it's there. Spatial Fissure is more of a niche combo tool. I do not recommend it outside of grab or if you are doing some shenanigans. And it does take precedence over our Awakening accuracy buff, which could be detrimental to obtaining Annihilation's accuracy buff. There are three different ways to combo out of it. First one being a C swap out of it into space for the stiffness, into SF. This will give you a lot of accuracy and minus evasion onto the target, usually when starting your combos. Overall, not really recommended, but still, it's cool there. Another advisable way is using Shift F into F, Illusion Detonation, Illusion Expansion, that kind of deal. It works. Nah, not the best. And then there's a few other ones, being Shift LMB into F for Ator's Fist. Really cute, but yes, not much. There are a ton of more combinations if the down smash lands, but I'll let you guys figure that out. I'm not really a fan of down smash combos, but they are there. Spatial Fissure is definitely one of the skills. Yeah, it's alright. Gravity Rift, though, there's not really much uses for this either. You can put it on your hotbar, and you can use it when you're getting up in order to get a heal. Other than that, it doesn't have too much for it. However, you can use it outside of combat on mobs, which does gain you some HP. It's like 700 HP, none to scoff at. You can also use it on like structures or whatever. It does heal you quite a bit, especially if you have HP caps. Hey, that might be even like a third of your life. If you're playing T1s and HP go down to 2,500. So yeah, This one, it's situationally good. Void Gateways is the best skill in the kit. Maybe after Upsurge, maybe after Impaling, not sure, but it does have so many usages, and it is the lifeline of this class. It's a 4 guard float, decent damage, long range, and can almost be used in any situation. How you will use it varies depending on the scenario. 1v1, 1vx, team fights. Void gateways can be used passively, and it can be used in the middle of the fight. You can even just hold it, stand still, and you'll be regening stamina. It depends if the enemy can get back to your back very quickly or if they can grab you. If they can't, you can just stand there, use it to regen stamina, and sort of like play passively, gain a bit of an advantage. Sometimes they won't even catch on to it. But yes, very amazing. You can use it to cancel from Q into Shift RMB. It's like Void Eruption. There's a lot of different ways to use this. Overall, try out a lot of different things for it. It is one of our best forward guards, so it's very proactive instead of like reactive, like Q block and stuff. You want to focus on putting your playstyle into this and practice on using it safely. For instance, you'll want to use this backing up in 1v1s and trying to play back a bit more so you don't get your back clipped when trying to be aggressive with it. On to something else that is not as cool. Ator's Mark. Ator's Mark is decent for helping teammates kill evasion players. It does have a better minus evasion percent than Ator's Spear. However, you do need to start up the skill with either a C swap or Ator's Illusion, Shift X, which we'll talk about later. It can feel a little bit clunky in comparison to the Succession counterpart. I wouldn't worry too much about using this skill unless it's a team fight and there's one person standing, maybe a Shy or a Mystic. But it does help in those scenarios, so hey, don't sleep on that. It's great. Just it's just niche. Illusion compression is a bit unreliable. Sometimes you gotta break this out for the boys, help them out. It's a vacuum that can be used somewhat well in Awakening. I wouldn't consider using it too often though, because it's fully unprotected, leaves you in animation lock, and you might get killed. It's usually used against classes that don't have a lot of iframes that can't escape the vacuum too easy. So like Lawns, Musa, those classes, they usually get stuck in it quite often, and you can secure that those people don't get away, especially if you have teammates backing you up. That's usually a confirmed kill. But for the most part, if you use it by yourself or with an unorganized team, it's more of a death sentence for you, so do keep that in mind. Form shift can be used in a few ways. It's not a bad skill. It's just it's niche, kind of like Ator's Mark. Most of the time, you can use it from like avoid gateways catch. You can form shifts just in case, like if someone's like trying to like hit you out of it. Sometimes a Musa might be really close. They might try and clip your back. You can't do like an SC swap in order to protect yourself. So sometimes form shift, immediate like SA, it's nice for those situations when you don't have anything else. Sometimes you don't even want to burn your stamina too hard with like a bolt. So it's alright. It has its uses. I will say you can do an SC forward guard only on the first dash. It has no gap on that. However, if you do two, the second one, if you try and do a backward C swap, it will be unprotected. So do keep that in mind. It can also be used upwards up the hills. So you can do shift Q in order to maybe do some damage, capitalize on your teammates. Sometimes you can out damage like someone who's trying to range you. So yeah, it's niche, but it is not the worst skill in my opinion. Illusion expansion is a little bit underwhelming. You can use it to activate dimensional compression, but overall, don't don't use the skill itself. What it's really used for is to pocket illusion detonation. Now, this has two different ways to do it. So for instance, we can use Shift W to rift in order to pocket it, and then we do a C swap. All right, now we have it. There's also another way, which will be doing the same thing, rift chain, while using the skill, and then spacebar to do lightning surge. This will also pocket it. There's also variations to it, but I won't go into too much depth about it in this section. But do keep it in mind, you can keep these range skills and use them for later the next time you rift. So for instance, for this one, you would rift and then you press F immediately afterwards, you can shoot the skill out. Definitely take advantage of using Detonation. It's very good. Spatial Collapse. It's a technique similar to this. We can actually pocket this, well, the flow for this skill. I would say that Spatial Collapse actually has more usages. It can actually hit downhill surprisingly well. Uphill, it's a little bit iffy, mostly if there's a wall in the way, but yes, you can use it for that. It's very good for terrain and fights whenever you have to hit under like some smaller walls. Sometimes can hit over it, so do keep it in mind. Nowhere structures are something that comes to mind. Difference between pocketing this skill and the other one is that it has a different way of doing it. So if you use S+C while doing this skill, it will pocket it a different way. So for instance, you'll be able to pocket it by just simply C-swapping into Awakening. Very cool, nice. And I will say though, it is a float. It does cover more area than Illusion Detonation, but you know, a float means you have less time to capitalize. You might have to pick up like a core skill like Spear Bolt, or you might even have to Enlightening Bolt when you don't want to. So yeah, this skill could be a bit problematic if you catch with it and don't have a good way to follow up. Now, going on to a skill that has fallen from grace, Ator's Energy, there's not much to do with this. It's hotbarrable, it has a long animation, it's a foreguard. It's not as good as before, it's kind of bad. I wouldn't use it, I don't recommend a lot of people use it. There's not really any use for it. Atomagia, you can pocket it by doing the spatial technique, like I was talking about before. You can do SC in order to pocket it. You can also do Rift Chain into Lightning Surge. You can also do Rift Chain into a C swap. You can also do that. It's not right. Atomagia just can't do it. Well, sorry. I mean, Atomagia itself, its flow, even afterwards, is not even that great. It's an essay that lasts for a long time, but a lot of people could trade you. You could get grabbed. Like, it's very rare for this to actually come into situations where it can, like, have some good use. The only time it is when you're out tanking someone so much and you just need an SA. Like, at that point, you're just gear bowling them. You could probably beat them in almost any other way. You don't need that. But yes, Atomagia is the skill ever. Dimensional compression though, this skill is different. This is a huge skill. You're gonna find yourself wanting to use this a lot, but try to use it carefully. So for instance, you could use it after like void gateways, you could do shift Q. Do keep in mind of the opponent's DP. So if it's like an archer or a ranger and you get the float on it, you can shift Q. Most of the time it'll kill them because those people usually don't wear DP, they wear more AP, so you can take advantage of that. Depending on if you know someone's weaker or stronger, you can immediately go into this flow, be safe, have a rift chain to get out. Awesome damage, very cool. There are a few other uses for it, but in my opinion, usually you'll use it after Void Eruption or Ator's Illusion, which we'll talk about later. It's good in chokes, on grounded enemies, and people that can't grab you. You can use it as a finisher if they can't grab you or damage trade you that fast. Overall, very nice. Illusion Barrier. This is your Q block. It gives you 20 DP. Usually use this before fighting. Sometimes you can use it while fighting. You can also link this into void gateways. It's cool. Don't try to hold this because if someone brings your block down to 0 like a range class, it will give you a block break debuff and then your shield won't regen for a while. So yes, be careful when doing this. Try to like use more proactive abilities like interrogate and void gateways. Illusion barrier is an alright skill, but yes, uh, you can always segue this into void gateways. Always a good choice. Other than that, you can also do SC swap. Bunch of different options. Just read the area, think about it, and be like, okay, This is my option. This is what I'll do. Now, reset just resets all of your skills. Cooldown, it is awesome. Just use it whenever. You want to use this mostly for big cooldown items that you're gonna need like urgently. Like maybe your E-buff, that's one of them. In my opinion, Judgement is another great skill to use reset for because it gives you a lot of distance. And also grab. Grab is a very good skill to reset. I know it's a bit of a joke, but sometimes you'll find yourself, you'll grab someone, you'll kill them, and then you'll be like, alright, I need to use another grab. Reset got you covered. But yes, you can also use it on your biggest ticket item, your E-buff. Make sure to just read the room, use it whenever you feel like it. Don't just hold on to it. I find myself doing it a lot, but yes. Very good skill. It does need to be hotbarred. So yes, that's why it's on my 1 key, because I really like it. Absolute Rift Chain. You can use this with a variety of skills. You can use Void Gateways to carry a skill. You can use Spatial Collapse. You can use Realm of Ruin, Energized Thorn. The list goes on for quite a bit. But yes, for the most part, it can carry a lot of skills. Gives you an iframe. It does drain a little bit, of course. Drains a little bit of your stamina, so do keep in mind, don't try to spam your bolts and your rift chains too willy-nilly. It will get you killed after a while, so yes, try to sit in your skills in order to prevent something like this happening. Overall, it's not bad to use rift chain though. Ator's Thorn. It's kind of harmful to Awakening Kit. I personally leave it locked because it allows me to shock relay from like my blocks or something. You have a lot more combo opportunity as well off of your catches. 50% movement explode is deadly against some people, but you won't find yourself using it too often. Succession kind of makes better use of it in my opinion. It's just not my thing. Realm of Ruin is a bit clunky to use. Now this is kind of like, it summons a little pet cube that just appears. It kind of looks like a little like relic scroll or Karchin or something. It just appears out of the ground, takes a while. It'll cast a minus 20 debuff for your magic DP, which stacks with your other ones like Chain Lightning and then Lightning Bolt, and any DP minus from any add-on. So you could have up to like minus 60, which is huge. So the problem is it takes so long to appear. It takes a while for you to find like a situation to use it. Most of the time you want to put it in a choke or positions that enemies are going to have to hold. So for instance, if you know that they're going to be coming up a ramp or they have one way to go to like, let's say like an RBF spawn, for instance, you might want to place it right there and be like, oh, reap a bit of that minus 20 DP. Honestly, there are some times where I just find myself never pressing the button. I'll go sometimes even days just not using it at all. So don't feel bad if you don't want to use it. It's very difficult to find usage for it. Lock Evasion Roll. Next skill up is Evasion. Just lock Evasion Roll. If you tap a directional key twice, it will force you to do a roll from awakening, pre-awakening. Just, it's better to make sure that that never happens. Just lock it. Now our passives, that's one thing I'd like to talk about, is 5% accuracy and 10% casting speed. As a sage, this is awesome to have. This allows us to choose different equipment sets because we have a high base evasion stat. So for instance, we can take a bit of a hit on accuracy, wear levers and stuff. You can do other things. Even if you want to be DR, that's extra stats for you to actually go glass cannon. You could maybe even ditch a Jin Viper, be able to fight a little bit better, kill faster. It's overall good stuff. It allows you to build more AP than like accuracy accessories. Very, very good passives. And also we give 20 magic AP. Not much to write home about. It's amazing. AP is good to have. Now we're going to go on to our Awakening Tree. Electrify. This is our E-buff. Personally, I don't like having this unlocked because sometimes it messes with the Judgement inputs. So putting this buff on a hotbar is kind of necessary in some sense. Sometimes you might just think, oh, you don't need it, but yeah, it happens sometimes. how rare the moments are, hey, it happens. But yes, 30 AP, 15 accuracy rate, and minus 30% ignore resist. So for instance, we can actually just, boom, hit someone with the Ator Storm and Lightning Bolt. We don't have to worry about resist during this. It's decent. It's not the best debuff, but yeah, it's cool. Kibelius Training, just swing twice for some auto attacks to get 5% casting speed. It's not much to write home about. I'd say it's not the greatest. But hey, you know, it probably won't change a fight, but you can do some like auto attacks for a bit to the side, maybe like tap your A and D key. You'll do a little stiff dance. You could do that after you kill someone. Hey, that's look kind of funny. That's about it. Now, going on to better skills, Bolt. Bolt is your primary movement skill in Awakening, and it is an iframe after you do a skill that is not on cooldown. So if Bolt is not on cooldown and you're not doing Lightning Surge or Shock Relay on cooldown, this will usually activate an iframe. Now, if you use this while it's still on cooldown after a skill, it will still activate, but at a 50 stamina cost. So be careful when spamming this. You will run out of stamina pretty fast. And, well, you want to make sure to extend your cooldowns or your skills. So, for instance, sometimes sitting in a, like, let's say a lightning prison, even though you're not hitting someone, you'll want to do that in order to preserve some of your stamina. Because using most of your stamina really fast, like Lightning Bolt, uh, Lightning Surge, Bolt, Lightning Surge, Bolt, and then like going into like a Surge, into a Spear Bolt, into Judgement, spamming all that stamina. Sometimes that could be risky in like a big fight, so you don't want to excessively bolt unless you can help yourself. So sometimes taking it slow, looking at the situation, playing a little bit slower passively is the best way to actually get more kills and extend your life, because the longer you're alive, the more chances for kills you have. Now, that's kind of just a statement on how to fight, but yes, Bolt is the primary reason why most sages die. Sometimes even why I die, because I love moving. But yes, do keep that in mind. Now, Lightning Surge has a lot of uses. It can be used to catch, move forward, as damage in a combo. However, it should be noted that it does take up stamina, about 150. It does do a lot. However, it doesn't activate the overcharge when it goes on cooldown. If I use like Bolt, Lightning Surge, Bolt, Lightning Surge, and it'll take a while for the other Bolt to come out because it doesn't allow me to do that because Bolt wouldn't be overcharged by that point. So yes, do keep that in mind. However, the overcharge status effect, almost any skill activates the overcharge status effect. This includes even pre-awakening, but usually the pre-awakening ones only apply to Lightning Surge. So to see this, usually if you Lightning Surge, there will be a blue kind of effect that appears after your Lightning Surge when it's overcharged. Now, that like Riz effect, it's kind of like, you'll have to like look at it in order to see it. But yes, all of your pre-awakening skills do it, even the auto attack from pre-awakening. There's a few skills that don't affect this, of course. Shock Relay on cooldown, Lightning Surge on cooldown, Kibelius Training, and C Swapping do not actually give you the overcharge effect. So please remember that. Of course, if you want to spam Lightning Surge through any of these methods that actually work, it does activate a down smash, so you could do some down smash fun combos. Hey, that's something. Let me know what you come up with if you do. Spear Bolt is an AP buff that can be a combo tool, engage tool, or used for general movement depending on if you hit a target or not. If you hit a target, you will be teleported to them instantly. Common's way to do this is Shock Relay or Interrogate. Usually these will cast it as fast as possible and are very good ways to use it. Afterwards, you have multiple options, which we'll go over, but of course you can do Enlightening Bolt, a bunch of different things. Maybe even Upsurge if you have the bomb for it. You can do Ator's Illusion. A lot of good things. Positions you well. You can even like look around, see how the battle's going. Very nice skill. Aftershock is practically the same skill, but you can do a spear ball again after pressing F. So you can do 2 Spear Bolts. It does take up a bit of stamina as Spear Bolt does, but yes, you can get two Spear Bolts for the price of one. And you don't even use up the original Spear Bolt cooldown. So yeah. Very nice. You can use it after Interrogate or Seize to activate Aftershock only instead of just Spear Bolt. Now, seizes are grabbed. It can be either melee or ranged. I will note that the hitbox is slightly larger when it's ranged. Melee, you can sometimes miss it point blank just because of this. There are a few ways to use this grab effectively, one being Impaling Flash. So you can do a few ways for this, but yes, we'll go over Impaling Flash for a while. The other is supposed to be Bolt Grab. Probably a really common one that a lot of new sages do. It's not a bad option. It works a lot. Just make sure that you're not going to get hit by something as you're trying to go into the grab animation, because you will get CC'd out of it if your ping is not good. Another is Rift Chain into Lightning Surge. So you can do Rift Chain, spacebar, and then E. So boom, you hit them with it. It's a range grab. You can sometimes catch some people by surprise if they're not looking at the minimap. Another one is you can sometimes sit passively, press SC. Sometimes if people are running into you, you can just press E, and it will grab them with a forward guard, of course. The grab's not forward guard, of course, but yes, your backward C-splop is. So yes, I think the best option is Impaling, but don't worry, we will get into Impaling for a bit. There'll be a whole section about it. Rift Storm is not a huge damage skill, but it is nice to finish a combo off with. Nothing to write home about. It is a nice skill. It can be activated fast through Lightning Surge or Bolt. And you can press RB to go into the final part of the skill. You can also do Divine Executioner, Shift Q immediately at the end of it as well. And well, there's not much to it. It can sometimes do a down smash, which can mess up your combo, but just be careful when using this. Don't try to use it at the beginning of your combos. Use it near kind of like the end of it, and you should be fine with this skill. Enlightening Bolt is a range float that applies a 25% slow for 3 seconds. It's a nice skill to use when fishing for CCs. It can be instantly casted after bolts, which is usually the primary usage. You can also do it after Spear Bolt, bunch of different skills. It can activate very quick. But yes, play around this ability. It is a nice one. You definitely want to use it. It's also not bad for combos because it is minus 20 DP if it lands. So even if it doesn't get the CC, it is still minus 20 DP, some slows. You can pressure people with it. You can even do maybe like an upsurge, well, shock relay upsurge. And like, yeah, that's good damage. Divine Executioner can be used instantly after Judgement, Rift Storm, or Ator Spirit, in my personal opinion. These are the only times that you will use Divine Executioner. I wouldn't use it by itself anymore. It's got better usages now because of the Judgement change. Something like Judgement is activated by doing WQ from Pre-Awakening or any type of skill at all. So for instance, you can do Spear Bolt, WQ, you activate Judgement, you can move around with a Q if you want to, which activates Divine Executioner. Really awesome. It gives you a lot of distance. Also, the Judgement effect, if it hits someone and you target them, it'll teleport you to them, gives them a bit of a slow, so it allows you to pressure that person, and it allows you to kind of like decide, alright, do I want to engage on this guy? Do I want to use my range skills, use Judgement, and then like engage and kill this guy? Or do I want to disengage, press Q, get out of here? It gives you a lot of options. Do play around a bit with Judgement, see how you can use it. You can also use it to fly onto like flying objects. So for instance, like Lawn, Striker, the Seagulls and Velia are a good place to actually train for it. I have a few clips of me doing it. It's really fun. You can use it to get on buildings. Also Pegasus, anything that's airborne, you can teleport onto it. Zerker Jump is another thing. Yeah, let me know. It's good. It's a good skill. Now, Upsurge is probably one of the most complicated skills in Awakening. It is the best damage skill that Awakening has, one of the best cores, and it gives 10% down attack damage for 5 seconds and a minus 30% knockdown resistance to those hit by it. For the most part, Upsurge is used forward after Shock Relay, Spear Bolt, Ator Spear. Some unorthodox methods, in my opinion, uh, they're not used often, of course, if you don't know what that means. But yes, it's after Grab, Lightning Prison, Interrogate, Irradiant Annihilation, Impaling Flash, Cancel Animation, uh, Chain Lightning, if I remember, is a pretty good one. And surprisingly, if I remember correctly, it's Enlightening Bolt, Core Enlightening Bolt. Yes, it's a bit buggy, but yeah, we'll talk about that. It's possible to do a sideways one, of course, if you do any of the other skills I have not mentioned. So it is a worse animation. I wouldn't recommend it. Some cases, it's not bad. But for the most part, the forward one covers much more distance and allows you to take advantage of the full effects of the skill. There are more useful interactions such as hotbarring it. You can do that with different cancels, and it'll help you out. Trust me. There's some reasons why you want to do it slow like that, and I'll go over it later. But overall, yes, it is a great trading skill, great everything. You can also do interrogate after it to extend the forward guard. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And it's got amazing range. Now, a skill that I feel like is kind of overrated, but still really good is Lightning Prison. It's not the greatest move because it takes a while for it to ramp up in damage. So as soon as like it's getting to its ending part of its animation, that's when the damage really ramps, especially because the crit goes really high at the very end points of the animation. Now, most of the time, you're going to put an add-on like crit before that. You want to have as much crit as possible when using the skill. So, for instance, shock relaying before it is not a bad option. But there's only a few ways, for instance, for us to activate Lightning Prison fast. If we do Shift F normally, which is the input for Lightning Prison, it'll come out really slow. There's a few ways to do it. So, for instance, sideways upsurge is one way, bolt, shock relay, upsurge, and then lightning bolt, Ator Storm, and Rift Storm are all different ways that you can actually activate Lightning Prison for faster. Sorry, I'm losing my breath. I'm trying to go through all this. But yeah, Radiant Annihilation does not have many uses outside of being an accuracy buff or a combo tool, in my opinion. It can be used for slow. Like, I've seen some decent success with it, but it is unprotected. So, yeah, that is a chance that you'll get CC. Sometimes it can pay off. The payoff's not big. Still 3 seconds slow, minus 25% on, like, all. But, yeah, it's something that's nice. You can do a pre-buff rotation. For instance, you can do Q and pre-awakening, R&B into F. That will activate most of your buffs. So it'll give you 20 DP, 30% crit for 5 seconds, and 10%, well, 9%, sorry, 9% accuracy for 10 seconds. Really nice to have. It can be done inversely. So you can do, for instance, RMB F, A, C swap, Q. That is another way to activate your buffs. In my opinion, just do it how you like it. I like the latter option. It just feels nicer to me. We also use to activate Chain Lightning faster. So yeah, you can do Ray Annihilation, Chain Lightning, very good for combos. You can also use this from Hotbar if you want, so use it from Pre-Awakening. I don't usually use this option, but it could be cool for you. So yeah, give it a try. Ator Spear, however, is it's a skill I'm not very fond of, but it's usually because I like taking core Spear Bolt, but Ator Spear is a good knockdown. It's usually the follow-up CC to wherever you CC with someone with. It's decent. You can use a BSR in order to give it super armor, but it comes out slower, so yeah, that is one thing to notice. I will say, after CCing someone with like Void Gateways or like a Lightning Bolt, this is usually the go-to CC if you do not have Spear Bolt, as it does have a good 9% evasion debuff on enemies. There's not much to this skill. It does have good reach, but tossing this out a lot is usually like a big gap for CCs to just like hit you in the face, maybe even range players. So yeah, be careful when tossing this out. Make sure you're kind of secure when activating the skill. Otherwise, it could be curtains for ya. Chain Lightning is more of a combo tool or a skill used to finish off players. I usually use this from like rooftops or something. You can actually use this to like chase down people. Most of the time, you want to use this when they're low on HP, maybe like 20%. You don't want to use this freely, especially when starting off a fight or in the middle of a fight, because it is a long gap. Some people will hit you, and yeah, you'll be like, oh, well, you know, the Sage is unprotected. Yeah, just be careful when using Chain Lightning. Make sure to know the scenario that you're in before you start spamming the skill. You can use Ator Spear, Shock Relay, Ray Annihilation. These speed up the animation. You can also do Spear Bolt from it, surprisingly, but there's not much of a reason to do this, in my opinion, unless you have the core for it. For a combo, not much to say about this skill. It is nice, I will say that. Don't sleep on this skill. Even though it is not as great, it has minus 20 DP. It has a bleed, which is great for cap node wars. Definitely do use. Shock Relay is the core bread and butter skill of this class, in my opinion. Most of the time, you'll want to use this sparingly because it is still a gap, even though it's a short one. It gives you crit. It gives you you have a chance to stiffen people with it. So you're incentivized kind of to like to use it often, but using it too often usually will open you up to get CC'd, especially if you're not moving around the target too much. So that does eat up stamina to use this kind of safely, because then you'll have to use Spear Bolt, which takes up your stamina. So be careful when using this skill recklessly. You want to normally buffer with a skill that's protected. So for instance, you want to do Shock Relay, Lightning Prison, Shock Relay, uh, Upsurge, Shock Relay, Spear Bolt. You can do a bunch of different things in order to use this skill. You can also do Shock Relay into Bolt. But yes, you can spam it in combos because it does do good damage. It's not bad. It gives you crit, which is always really nice. You want to be careful when using it on get-ups or when you've already CC'd a target, because it'll stiffen them. You might CC cap them. So do keep that in mind. Overall, you can also do something like Shock Relay and Lightning Bolt, Shock Relay into Upsurge. If you've caught someone, that does quite a bit of damage in my opinion, and gets you some air attacks, which is nice. Allows you to actually take full advantage of that damage. Overall, you want to be careful when using this, of course, because using it too much in a combo could mean that you get peeled on, and yeah, you don't want to die. Now going on to it, Rabombs. Ator's Illusion, in my opinion, it's a good damage skill. It got a lot of buffs, and it has a stun on it. So yeah, you know, hey, that's a pretty good thing. It has a down attack too, which yeah, you know, I like it. I dig it. I usually use it a lot. Uh, One thing I'll say, it's not as great damage as Void Eruption, but you can actually use it to cast Dimensional Compression. It's not a bad pick. I like using it to catch in 1v1s. You can also do Ator's Illusion, Void Gateways, and it's a pretty quick cast. Not too bad. Another way of using this skill is using it to catch. So, for instance, you can actually bolt towards someone or impaling flash behind them. Shift X. So then you do potentially a stun. If you get the catch, then you can still rift away, come out of rift, do lightning surge in order to stiffen them, and then Ator's spear in order to actually knock them down. So this allows you to actually combo pretty well and safely. And it's a quick catch. It's very hard to punish unless the person is ranged. So be careful when going into someone that normally rotates SA or protections. You won't want to use this. Sometimes if you can find if the opponent's reckless, or has a pattern such as a Zerker like rocket leaping into you, you can use illusion to catch. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this ability if you don't tell, but yes, I love this. Very nice skill, a lot of combos that can come out of it. Do give it a try. Ator's Palm. Well, the thing is, Ator's Palm isn't bad, but it's kind of like having to choose between two good skills. So Ator's Palm is more of a good open world heal option or node war heal option because you can do Shift X into Shift E in order to heal off of mobs, and it gives quite a bit. So it's like wow, that's actually pretty good. Or you can use it on like no more structures. Boom, wow, I just healed up like 700 HP, really nice. Do gravity rift, get some more. It's like this is not bad. You just can't really use it too well in PvP in my opinion. Even though it has a minus 20 DP, we don't really have a problem getting minus DP on players. So overall, it just comes up lacking most of the time. It's too slow for me to recommend, but if you do like using it for open world, do give it a try. Energized Thorn, in my opinion, is a decent range skill. You can use this while chipping people from range. Not bad, honestly. You can use this for like illusion detonation, and then you can go spatial, finishing touch, and then do Energized Thorn, finish them off. Sometimes you can kill roof rangers and other types of archers or whatever casters on the roof. It's good for harassing those people. Honestly, I would say use this skill sparingly because I've seen a lot of sages use this immediately, and sometimes it gets them killed. It's gotten me killed a few times. I've learned to be much safer with this. You can mouse move it around while you're in the forward guard. You can also rift chain, but you are still stuck in the end animation afterwards, so do be careful when using this skill. Now, another skill that I'd say it's a bit lesser of the two. It's Piercing Thorn. However, it's not bad. You can like rift chain it and then throw it out. It's not bad for repositioning. You can sometimes catch people off guard with it. It does have a long ending animation, which I'm not a fan of. You can also do dimensional compression from it, so you can use it for combos if you really want to be quick. Uh, not too bad. Nothing to really say about. The reason why I don't value it so highly is because it can't be used up a hill or downwards. So it has a trouble with like the Z-axis. Um, be careful when using the skill. It's gotten me killed a few times. I do think that it's not that bad though. Uh, give it a try. I'd say Energized Thorn, Piercing Thorn, those are a toss up. You can kind of go with either. And for Ator's Palm and Ator's Illusion, in my opinion, Illusion is better, but yes, that can also be debated. Now, one thing that can't be debated is Void Blast. It's just a bad skill. It doesn't heal fast enough, and the animation is way too long for its own good. If you want to heal outside combat, just use Ator's Palm and Gravity Rift. That's all you really need. In my opinion, just please don't use Void Blast. I don't even feel like covering it. It is it can be used. It's just the length is so long, and Void Eruption just gives you so much more potential and awakening in comparison. It beats it by just a mile. Now, Void Eruption, it's SA. It can be used instantly. You can use it after a bolt to regen a tiny bit of stamina. You can use dimensional compression from it. You can spam it after interrogate, or for instance after Upsurge in order to gain an SA effect or go into dimensional compression. So yes, Void Eruption is really nice for those situations. It can also be used to go into Q block, or you can even shift RMB to void gateways from it. Really good Rabam. Definitely recommend, in my personal opinion, Ator's Illusion, Energized Thorn, and Void Eruption. Those are very good skills. Okay, let's talk about cores. So, most of the time, whenever you're searching through some of these skills, you'll be like, oh, where are these? These are core skills. They give us either CCs or protection. For us, there are 5 CCs because we're very protected, and then we got one forward guard one, which is core Enlightening Bolt. It has some cool tech, but yeah, I'll talk about that in a bit. Firstly, I want to talk about Spear Bolt. Now, Spear Bolt is actually pretty in depth for just a normal course. So, for instance, let's say if I do Upsurge, I do Interrogate. So right here, I've used Aftershock's cooldown. So if I do a grab and I do like the Spear Bolt, it'll cause a knockdown instead, but it'll CC cap the target. So this actually gives you some different outplay potential. It also activates it around. So, you know, for instance, anyone around this kind of like width will get knocked down. Really cool. I like it. I dig it. You can also use it after one of your range CCs. You back boom. I'm like, what? What'd you say? Boom. Hit him with a Spear Bolt, range CC. Really nice. Honestly, it's one of our protected knockdown CCs, so yeah, I'd say it is a good pick. I think one of the better picks. Now, there are other ones though. So for instance, we could go Core Enlightening Bolt. This lets you kind of play around the fight and play around range. It also lets you to do a bit more backpedaling, as you can see right there. Upsurge can be activated forward with Core Enlightening Bolt. Now, this normally isn't possible without Core Enlightening Bolt. This gives you some more outplay potential. So for instance, you can do that, do some damage, fly around the fight. You don't really have to kind of like dedicate yourself to an unprotected animation as much, especially with this core. It's nice to have. I'm gonna say that. In my opinion, I don't really like using it. I like using Spear Bolt more, as you can see from that sloppy combo. I'm more of a Spear Bolt kind of guy. But yes, it has its good uses. It's a good one. I wouldn't say it's one of the best ones, but it is a good one to have. Now, in my opinion, something that's more niche is Core Rift Storm. So for instance, let's say if we were to go right behind someone, we can go boom, Rift Storm, and then we hit him with that. So it's like, you know, you can do a bunch of stuff from it. In my opinion, this is more of a bomber kind of core skill. So for instance, I can actually go like this, Spear Bolt, spacebar, we hit him with a bound, shift right click, shift F. This will usually kill a lot of people. The problem is, the reason why I say it's niche is because it requires people to group up on somewhere. So for instance, if there are people trying to tap the node war fort, or for some reason they're just standing still all of a sudden and all just kind of taking a while to group up, you can do this and it will do a lot of damage. Like, trust me on that. It is a great it's great for those situations, but the problem is it's just too niche and it's very hard to kind of get value out of it when someone's actively playing in a fight. Other than that, it is a good core, not very like the best core for damage trading playstyle. Now, in my opinion, if we want a really bad one, it is a core Divine Executioner. You can actually use this from Judgement. You can go like, yo, boom, bound, and it's like, it's a decent area, but it's just so bad. Like 17 seconds right there. If you look at that, 17 seconds, boom. It's way too long to be justified as a core. It is awesome doing a superhero landing people, well, on people, but yes, do not recommend. It's like, it's just not it. You could do something like Spear Bolt, and then I go, whoa. Of course, don't mess it up like me, like, you know, like, dang. Just don't camera turn like that, of course. But yes, you can actually Spear, you can Divine Executioner on them. Just don't do it though, in my opinion. But yes, core Upsurge. Well, yeah, that's another thing. You can't even reset your cores because it takes so long. But yes, core Upsurge. This one actually doubles down more on the strength of Sage, so it's damage and trading potential. It allows you to freely kind of play a damage trade game without giving up and trying to go for catches instead, like what Spearbolt does. Spearbolt's more of the catch bond, where you kind of try to outplay your opponent and catch them. This one is still an outplay one, but it's more you try to do more damage to them in the middle of a fight rather than trying to go directly for catches. So for instance, I could actually be just playing around in a fight, do that, boom, I stun two people, can like Enlightening Bolt them, You can do a bunch of different things. It has a lot of potential. Most of the time, whenever you catch someone with it, though, you want to not do that. For instance, don't try to use Surge, but yes, you want to use different sort of skills. So, for instance, you'll do like boom, then you want to actually try to get off that Ator's Thorn as soon as possible. Another different way to use it is if you catch a lot of people with it, you can go Upsurge, do Interrogate, flip around to the side, you hit both those people. Really good bond. Do give it a try. I'd say these two are one of the better ones. However, another good one is Core Lightning Prison. It's not that it's fallen from grace. It's it's very hard to capitalize on all that it does. So, for instance, for this, I'd hit both of them with my stun. Now, the Enlightening Bolt just doesn't travel sometimes that far. So, even if I were to like have great positioning, it'd be very difficult to land it, and it doesn't even CC over there. So, uh, the thing is, it has so much potential, but you can't always get enough value from this. You want to use this kind of for like massive stunning and large scale. You can use it to CC for your teammates. In smaller fights, I say it's alright, especially with the cooldown reduction that we were given in the patch, which lowered this to 12 seconds, so it's not so outclassed by Upsurge. But definitely you want to probably use Upsurge or Spear Bolt in my opinion. The other ones are just as good. Play around with each one, see what you like. I personally do like playing with Enlightening Bolt and Upsurge when I am not using Spear Bolt. Always give them a try. And one thing I forgot to mention with that is you could actually do Core Upsurge, Spear Bolt, and then hit them with that. So they'll be stiffened, you get your AP buff, you also stun them. Really nice combo. Do give Upsurge a try. I've been starting to like it more, even though I'm more of a Spear Bolt fan. Next, we're going to talk about Black Spirit Rage skills. Now, there's a few that you can use, such as Ator's Mark. This one can be sometimes handy in 1vx, but the minus % damage is not as great. It's not as amazing as Succession's one. It doesn't do as much damage. It's a little bit lacking. It can save you in a pinch, though. Sometimes you can plant it in a choke and then immediately get away. It has its uses. Personally, I'm not the kind of person that uses it, but there are situations where this can be remarkably helpful. Ator's Energy. It's cool. You do the walk. I'm gonna say, if you've seen it, he does the walk, and it's not as amazing in Absolute. Even in Succession, it's not really that great. It's a super armor, so you'll get ranged down and die while you're in it. So, don't do it unless you're trying to, like, just, do it for giggles. Not really my thing. But, yeah. 200%, I lock that. 100%, this one's kind of like, for PvP, you don't really use it. It's a vacuum, and it bounds on the last hit. Don't do this. I gotta say, it got me killed more than once. It doesn't even activate the bolt on iframe. Here, let me show you. But yes, for instance, bolts off cooldown, I still bolt. Nothing. No iframe. So you don't even get like a safe escape afterwards if you are getting pelted after using that. No. I just don't recommend it. It is a vacuum though, so hey. You could be like a little, one of them things, one of them Roombas, get those kills. Even though it doesn't do any damage, so you're not even a Roomba at that point. Divine Executioner. This one's kind of trash. I've tried it so many times. You can't even use it mid-air. Honestly, don't recommend it. There is a cool kind of thing. I'm not sure if they've patched it yet, but you can de-level the skill and you will be able to use different cooldowns of Divine Executioner. That's gonna get patched probably as soon as people find this out. Even though it's trash, it is possible. So, hey, that's something. Flow Interrogate. Black Spirit Rage Flow Interrogate. The 25% isn't that bad. This one is a rare it's a rare skill that actually applies your skill add-ons to it. So for instance, I do that, Flow Interrogate, I'm getting my add-ons and it's applying the minus DP. So if you didn't know, oh yeah, and also I get 10% casting speed for 20 seconds, awesome. So if you didn't know, if we do this, it applies the last hit of Lightning Prison, and I will say it is actually largely consistent. It does activate the same amount of damage as if you were to shoot down the 2 bolts from Interrogate. So if it's part of your playstyle, use it. It's not my thing though, but the add-ons do get applied to this Black Spear Rage, unlike many others that don't. It's a very neat concept. I actually really like it. I just haven't had much of a reason to use this. However, the other one that I want to talk about is Impaling Flash. Now, this one, you'd normally think maybe, oh, this is kind of cool. It's like, you know, it dismounts targets on hits, but it's only dismounts target on spear throw hits. So, for instance, you have to do the long animation of Shift D, LMB, and then none of that counts. Like, teleporting to the people and hitting them does not count. It does not knock them off their mounts. However, it does slow them still, so that's it. It can be used to stall out your iframe. So for instance, let's say I do Lightning Prison, delay it, boom. It allows you to linger that Impaling Flash iframe. And I gotta say, the last one that I use the most is Black Spear Rage Ator Spear. It's an SA catch. It does more damage. Yeah, I gotta say, use it. It is slow motion though. There are a few times where I've had to use this, and it would be awesome if I had it, because it's like, oh, you know, you can capitalize more. However, sometimes it's not always ideal because you need to be fast with your catch in order to hit all the people. If you're not fast enough, you know, you use like Black Spear Rage Ator Spear, well, you don't get anyone because it's so slow. All displayed, but yes. Overall, I gotta say 10%, 25, 50, all really good ones. The one I'm a bit more iffy about is Ator's Mark. Use that one as you will. It has its uses, and I've seen some sages actually use it to an alright degree. Something I didn't really go over too much is Hotbarrable Skills. Now, there's a few skills that you can hotbar / should. In my opinion, the few that you should do or can. Gravity Rift is a nice one. You can use this when you get up so you can heal. Especially if you're in Awakening form, you can press this. So for instance, you can go like that. And then pop, you get your heal. Really nice. I don't use it much, but yeah. Void Gateways, definitely you want to have this on hotbar. It is an amazing skill. Do have it on hotbar. It allows you to use it from Awakening. Boom. It's crazy. Illusion Compression can only be used from hotbar after you learn Dimensional Compression, so very rare that you press this button. Don't blame me if you don't want to have this on your hotbar. I keep it on there because there's very rare times where I will use this and it has some results. I'm not going to say if those are good or bad results, but yes, there are results. Illusion Expansion, definitely hotbar this, It allows you to use it from Awakening. So you can go wah, rip chain, shoot it out. Amazing. Spatial Collapse, kind of hotbarable. Sometimes you really want it because you'll go into that and you'll be like, oh shoot, Void Gateways is on cooldown. Maybe you're in a fight and you really need another forward guard. You can activate that. It'll be at a much slower kind of casting speed. So sometimes you can buffer it a bit more with like, let's say, Ator's Illusion, Shift X. You can do that beforehand. Depends, it's all up to you. But personally, I do use it hotbarred sometimes, not as often. Ator's Energy, no. Ator's Energy is just terrible. You can if you want. I don't recommend this. Dimensional compression can be hotbarred. I know some sages like doing this. It's not my personal favorite, but you can sort of like carry around the startup animation, go up to somewhere, boom, you have it. It's a good SA if you really need it. If you're kind of like out trading someone and you just want to just sit in your SAs and you can like tank their damage, you can actually just like activate it this way. Do be fast with it though, because right there I wasn't fast with it and I couldn't rip chain it. So uh, you can do this. I don't, but you, the player, can. Reset. Yes, this needs to be hotbarred. No questions asked. You could not do it just because you're an elitist, but definitely hotbar it. Realm of Anguish. I've been calling it Realm of Ruin this entire time. I didn't even know that, but yes, Realm of Anguish. Hotbar it if you want. If you don't, that's alright. It allows you to use it from Awakening. So, you know, you can just kind of like carry it around better. Throw it on some node word structures, maybe in a choke, as we were talking about before. Yeah, cool stuff. Awakening. There's not much to hotbar actually. So for instance, you can hotbar Electrify, which is your E buff, so that you don't actually use Judgement instead. It's good to use it that way. I'd say just hotbar it and lock it in my opinion. Now, Upsurge. Upsurge I like doing because you can do Impaling Flash from it at any point in the animation. So, sometimes I find a use for it, sometimes I don't. Because if you normally use Upsurge, it will always do it after a bolt sideways. And, well, yeah. Sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes you want the foreguard effect. It's more proactive. You can actually use it to bait people. Uh, Hotbar Upsurge if you want. If you don't, I completely understand. Radiant Annihilation. This one can be hotbarred. So for instance, let's say if I'm in my block, hold on a second, we're gonna wait for it. It can be used from pre-awakening. So this is usually like an advisable technique. You can do this, press Annihilation from hotbar, shock relay, then bolt. Then you got all of your buffs running. Awesome. I don't do it often, but I'm going to try to incorporate into my playstyle. It's just something I haven't gotten around to. Other than that, you also have your skill enhancements, so you can hotbar these as well. I personally just like pressing Shift X and Shift Z. You can put any of these on your hotbars though. They do work. There's not really much advantages in my opinion to hotbarring them or just pressing the inputs. Just do whatever feels best on your fingers. If you're using Void Blast, don't use Void Blast. Put Void Eruption on your hotbar. You'll like Void Eruption a lot more. I tried so hard to love Void Blast, but Void Eruption is just way better in my opinion. Anyway, that's about it. I'm gonna put this on my hotbar as well. Well, actually, no, I already have that on my hotbar. What am I doing? I'm silly. But yeah, I'm gonna put everything that you can put on your hotbar onto here. That way you can kind of see which ones kind of work well. What else was there? It was like Ator's energy. This is I don't recommend you use all of these on hotbar, but yes, right here, these are all the skills that you could use from hotbar if you do please. Alright, add-ons. So, in my opinion, there's only a few good add-on choices. There's not many. Well, I'm not an add-on expert. I'm just gonna let you know that real quick. Most of the time, I just like stacking a bunch of offensive add-ons, and then usually just having one really good defensive one. So, for instance, Spear Bolt, you can almost have 100% uptime on it. That's why I have evasion rate and attack speed. You can choose a bunch of different ones, but yes, these are the ones that I'm usually the most comfortable with. Now, I would like to say Void Gateways, there's a variety of add-ons that you can do. You can do attack speed, you can do a bunch of other ones, you can do crit, human damage. I believe those are really good for it. Spear Bolt, you can also put DP instead of attack speed. You can also do you know, you can just play around with it. You can usually do like down attack, maybe if you're what do you call it? Running the core Spear Bolt. In my opinion, I don't recommend it. I usually like keeping these two stats up a lot, so that's why I use both these. Now, Enlightening Bolt, you can, I think these are some of its best. You can put crit on it. I know a lot of people like putting crit on it instead of human damage, but in my opinion, we only tag someone once with it, so I usually like having buffs on skills that we only tag once with, which is another reason why I kind of use like Upsurge. I'm not a big fan of like using like a bunch of minus DP, but I believe critical hit rate, attack speed, these are good. These allow us to cast Interrogate faster, and it allows us to activate our combos a lot faster at the beginning. So usually you'll use this in the middle of a combo. Uh, it's good stuff overall. Lightning Prison's a bit of a strange one, honestly. There's a reason why I do the critical hit damage. It's because I run these crit rings. I really like damage, but yeah, it also applies off of our interrogate. So for instance, the buff keeps getting reapplied after I use interrogate. Really cool stuff. You can use different add-ons, like for instance attack speed. You can have 10% up for quite a while with it. In my opinion, I don't recommend it. Go for what you like. Crit rate is always a good option on Lightning Prison. It ensures that it'll always do a lot of damage, especially if you can't find a way to get Shock Relay off beforehand. So that is that's another good choice. So for instance, for most people, I would say 30% crit rate and minus 20 DP. This usually is the better choice for your add-ons on Lightning Prison. But you can do what I do, up to you. Overall, I do like the crit rate though. This is the one add-on that I have to say, every Sage should have. It is Shock Relay, minus 3% evasion rate, plus 3 all accuracy rate. Now this is very powerful. So essentially you're almost always going to want to do Shock Relay in a combo, or you're almost always going to proc it off of someone, because you're going to want to use this actively in battle. It won't be used all the time, but unlike Ator's Spear, you're going to use Shock Relay a lot. Ator Spear, you're going to only use it when they're on the ground. So sometimes you're in a situation where you can't use Ator Spear. So Shock Relay actually is a better choice for all accuracy and the minus evasion rate. While you do lose out on 1% accuracy rate and 1% evasion rate, this is going to be a lot more consistent than Ator Spear, in my personal opinion. A few other ones that you can actually do for Sage add-ons, not to replace Shock Relay. I'd say that one is almost 100% important. But a few other ones you can do is Dimensional Compression. I know a few people, they like doing attack speed or minus DP. You can also do what Divios does. You can do minus accuracy rate. That is a cool idea. I've never really thought of it, but it's an interesting one if you like damage trading with it. A few other ones that you can do is you can do Spatial Collapse. Finishing Touch also gets procced off of it. Personally, I don't recommend Spatial Collapse because I don't use Finishing Touch enough, and Spatial Collapse is kind of weird to use sometimes. Illusion Expansion is the one I use more. You can put attack speed and then like crit rate, for instance, and now you're ready to enter in a fight. Or you can do human damage instead, and then like crit rate. You can stack a bunch of your, buffs on this, because this is usually a single target ability. So for my idea, you want to stack probably percents or these pluses more, because they only affect you. However, big area AoE effects, you could probably put on like the minuses and whatnot. I think those would be better options. You can also put bleeding damage. I used to do this a lot in Succession, but most of the time this only gets you kills rarely, so I don't entirely recommend it. Overall, Illusion Expansion is an option. Ator's Mark, in my opinion, could be a good choice. It's a bit of a niche one. I don't recommend it too often, but you could put minus 4% evasion rate, hit someone with it, and then just leave. That way your teammates can kill like the DP player while you're off dealing with priority targets. Depends on the play style. This is usually a team player kind of add-on, in my opinion, and a skill, to be honest. Do consider that though. It is not a bad one. Impaling Flash. This one, in my opinion, you could put slows on it. I know a lot of people, they like doing this because you can tag a lot of people with it, slow them down. It's not a bad idea. Try it out if you like using Impaling Flash that way. I usually like using it to get behind or angle myself in a fight, but you can usually tag someone and angle yourself. It's just a little bit difficult. It's some tight timing. Give it a try. The bleeding damage is also not a bad one on it either. So yeah, he has a lot of really good ones for Impaling Flash. You can give that one a try. Ator Spear, I'm mostly a fan of usually like putting like more attack on this. So for instance, attack speed, crit rate, in my opinion. You could also put human damage on it. That way you could start off your combo a bit stronger. Not really much. You could also put bleed damage, maybe in case they get up. You could also put these attack percents. This is not a bad option in my opinion. Doing well, not back attack. Come on, down attack, critical hit. You could do that for combos, maybe cap. I haven't tried it much, but yeah, that's an option. In my opinion, Rift Storm, you could probably put a few things on it. You could put DP and evasion rate. That way, you don't take as much damage in it, because sometimes you'll want to sit in this. You could also put the minus 4% accuracy rate, so that anyone trying to grab you, or minus damage if you're DR. That's one thing I forgot to mention. If you're DR, you want to do minus extra damage versus humans. It won't make much of a difference, like the accuracy rate, but it is an option for you DR players out there. Yeah, this doesn't have too much use. I used to use a Rift Storm add-on. It's just the skill itself is a little bit difficult, and it's not really that great to use unless someone's in a combo or almost already dead. Now, Chain Lightning, this one is a bit of a weird one, in my opinion. What I used to do before I did Enlightening Bolt is I run crit rate and minus DP. This is not bad for combos. And it's not bad if you're like on a ledge, like shooting people with like Chain Lightning and like your pre-awakening skills. It's good for that. It's not like the best core. The reason why I put crit rate on is because it has none, so it does help it out quite a bit. Although I'd like to mention that it has extra 50 pain damage. So when you're capped node wars and like whatever, you can add bleeding damage to it. That's 150 damage that they're taking over time. And if you look at that, that's like 15 seconds of 150 damage every 3 seconds. Could help a lot. Maybe even get you a kill with a Venom Trap. So yeah, that's a good one. But overall, these are my add-ons. This is what I run. Of course, I run the minus 20 DP and the crit rate. Well, the critical hit damage. This is my preferred add-on set. For cap node wars, I do use this one instead. The stats are a little bit redundant, but bear with me. Usually these are what I like running. I still run the shock relay one because sometimes we go outside the node war border and you need to be able to shred evasion targets. Pay attention to that if you're in node war. I'm a little bit careless. Whenever I see a kill, I just gotta go for it. But yes, these are my tier 2, tier 3, tier 1 add-ons. Let me know. Hey, if you got any other ideas, I'd like to see them. Alright, if you guys were following along and you were checking out what I was doing for most of the skills, you may notice that I did skip one skill in particular, and that is Impaling Flash. Now, Impaling Flash, in my opinion, is probably the most complicated skill to comprehend in the Awakening Kit. It has a lot of different uses, so for instance, we could just throw it normally. It's like, it doesn't look that great. It applies a slow, it's not as great when you use it in base form like that. Like, you don't want to normally do that, but if you do need a slow cast it like that, it's alright. It also does lock part of your stamina whenever you're in this animation, so yeah, that's not very good. Now, the reason for using this skill is because of how it connects to other skills. So, for instance, let's say if I were to be like Bolt, I do Riftstorm, then Shift E, I can press S while doing the skill, and I 180 my camera, I go right behind the enemy. So, for instance, I can also do this from a slow casted Upsurge at any point, 180, and then boom. You gotta press S though as the animation is happening. I'll put that on screen right now. Let's see. All right. So we tap the key, Shift D, S, just like that. We can do a multitude of things. Like it's crazy. This skill blows my mind. It's what makes Awake Sage so strong. So for instance, we can actually decide, okay, Lightning Prison, backwards, and Lightning Bolt. Now we just got to the person's back, we CC'd them, we can go into our combo. It's amazing. You can also do it from Shock Relay. You can be like, boom, stun them. Sorry, I just hit a lag spike, so yeah. If it's a look a little choppy, that's the reason why. You can also do it after Spear Bolt. Like, go around, kind of like get around the target. We don't always have to use it like this, though. That's the thing. It is, has multiple uses for this. So, for instance, let's say a skill that we use, like let's say a Shock Relay. We can do that, Shift E, S, E. Well, I just missed it because I didn't press E fast enough. But if you hold down E during the animation, after you do an S from the front, it'll do a grab. That just locks onto the target. It's amazing. You can do so many different things from this skill. Don't sleep on it. It is what makes Awake Sage so strong. It's unbelievable. A few other examples I have for this is you can go uphill sometimes with it, and even it helps you cross some distance. So for instance, it does have a bit of range, so it's nice for actually getting away from people. And this is a fact that like a lot of people don't know, but you can actually go through Node War structure forts, like the structures that they're building. So for instance, gates, barricades, you can go past those. It's just amazing. Also, a little side note, if I can do it, you can also go a little bit under this arena where the guards are. It's funny. It does get you stuck sometimes like that. So if you Impaling Flash into someone who's right next to an object and try to go behind them, sometimes you'll appear in that object. So be careful with that. But yeah, there's also a bunch of different ways to actually catch from it other than Enlightening Bolt as well. So for instance, I can go behind them, Shock Relay catch. I can also do it with Spear Bolt. I can do it with Illusion. You could even do it with the shitty compression. Sorry about the language, but yeah, compression's just not good, but that's not the fault of compression. Alright, so another thing you can do with this is you can press Impaling, do another bolt, press a skill, then you can go backwards just like that. So you can actually gain so much distance without using much stamina. Most of it is iframe into a small amount of SA, into a foreguard, into a more iframe. You can even conjunction that. So for instance, it can get a little crazy. So for instance, we can go Impaling, do that again. We go into this, backward C-swap, Judgement, we can Bolt, Impaling. We can cover a lot of distance. It does eat up at your stamina after a while, so don't go too crazy with the movement, but you can actually be in a lot of iframe movement for a long time. Protected, safe movement. Yeah, Impaling Flash, try out as many combinations as you want. It is what gets you the most catches, kills, and catches. It's amazing. Before we're talking about pocketing, there are a few different things that you can do with the skills. So for instance, there are a few skills that will keep the pocketing no matter what. If you're looking to do some cool tricks, so for instance, you can do Spatial Fissure, you can do Shift X, you can do Illusion Compression, Kyve Mastery, you can do Form Shift, backward C-swap. All those skills will still retain the pocketing. One of the ones being that I didn't mention was Ator's Thorn, that also keeps it, and Illusion Barrier. These will keep the pocketing, and you can still use the skill right afterwards as so. Any skill with a charge animation does not keep it up though. Ator's Fist is a bit of a rare one, it doesn't keep it up. But yeah, Ator's Fist removes it, Gravity Rift removes it, Void Gateways removes it, Ator's Mark removes it. Spatial Collapse will remove the Detonation one. Inversely, Illusion will remove it. Atomagia can remove both. Dimensional Compression removes both. Overall, yeah. Other than that, oh, and Realm of Anguish, that also removes it. Otherwise, there's not much else. Void Eruption does. Don't know if I mentioned it, but yeah, just thought I'd leave it in there. Void Blast if you're wondering as well. That's about it for pocketing. Alright, so a question I get a lot is, how do you manage your stamina? So, in my personal opinion, there's no easy way to go about it. A lot of our movement skills take up stamina. You want to be very careful when using them, and to use them not too fast. Otherwise, you will run out of it very fast. So that means don't use Spear Bolt unnecessarily, Aftershock unnecessarily, and Lightning Surge. You can use Rift Chain a bit more, especially if you pair it with Void Gateways and use it safely. Be careful about using Divine Executioner and Judgement, because those do animation lock the stamina. Judgement, when casted by itself, will use stamina. So yeah, that is something to mention. The Impaling Flash does lock up a bit of the stamina, but only for the short time that it's actually moving you. So if you're in this animation, sometimes it won't take up stamina and you will be able to use a skill. Very nice. I will say you want to usually use your SA cooldowns accordingly. So using Rift Storm, Lightning Prison, Upsurge, you want to use these to its fullest extent. Void Gateways, Void Eruption, these are skills that help you out a lot. You can even use Interrogate. Mostly you just want to balance kind of like a healthy dose of like going aggressive with your stamina and then also playing a bit passively. So for instance, Impaling Flash is going to do a lot of work, especially if you're playing passively on the class. So for instance, let's say if I see this a lot from a lot of sages, is like they'll do Bolt, they'll do like Ray Annihilation, Upsurge, they'll like use all their cooldowns, they'll try and Spear Bolt after someone, Judgement, do another Bolt, Rift Chain, and you see my stamina is running out really fast because I'm using too many skills for my own good. Now, most of the time you want to actually try to extend your animations as much as possible. So for instance, sometimes if I'm like doing some movement, trying to be aggressive, I'll sit in Lightning Prison for a bit. And then like I'll go into like Upsurge, Interrogate, maybe even press Void Gateways afterwards in order to extend the forward guard if it's not being pressured much. You can do that. Backward C-swap. You can even do this. Bolt. Rift Chain. Oh, Rift Storm. My bad. But yes, a lot of the time you want to carefully manage your different tools and you want to use them accordingly. So for instance, this, you can go Shift E, you can grab someone, you can go behind them, you can even gain some distance. So for instance, if the enemy's right here, they'll teleport me right behind them, allowing me to gain some distance, confuse them a bit. Maybe I'll be able to back off and regen my stamina. So, you know, get crafty with it. There's a few ways that you can actually use this. So for instance, if I do that, I can also do Void Eruption, Q block, be able to regen stamina. It's the variety in this is very huge. You just want to be careful when using some skills. So for instance, Spear Bolt, Judgement. This will gain you a lot of distance, but after a while, you see my stamina is going to be running out the more I run faster. So for instance, doing something like that, spamming Void Eruption, that regened about 30% of my stamina. So if no one's pressuring me during that, you definitely want to do something like that in order to make sure you don't get like hit by like a stub arrow from a Musa or something while you're moving around. Makes you very safe, makes you very certain that, okay, I'll be able to handle any situation I'm in. And remember the Impaling Flash stuff, because it allows you to actually safely use most of your SA cooldowns without being uncertain about, okay, am I going to get behind them? Am I going to get the grab? You must always certainly get it. You'll actually even also be able to sometimes survive in some situations and be able to escape because of using what we previously mentioned, where you can go Impaling Flash, do a bolt, so you'll be able to get a lot of iframe extension along into void gateways, get a bunch of distance. Very nice stuff. Play around with it a bit. Make sure to train managing your stamina more than anything. And of course, if you do need more stamina, run Exquisite Cron Meal and Giant Drafts. They're very cheap. You can actually use these in most of your PvP sessions, and they'll give you a lot more stamina to work with. And also, if you have a Garmoth in your Nuva Recruitum, that also gives you 100 stamina, so it's nice. And leveling up ref training also gives you stamina, so yeah, remember those. Most of the clips I recorded are with 38 breath level, but as you can see, I've been training my stamina quite a lot. I'm at level 44. It does help me out quite a bit. I'd say it gets a lot better around breath level like 41, 40. Usually around that point, I felt like I was able to take advantage of my stamina much better. Anyway, if you guys want a guide on that, I'd be happy to make one for breath training. Alright, I'm not gonna go too much into depth about gearing, because mostly if you look at my gear set, I'm not a gear aficionado or something. I run Crip Rings, which is not usually the most recommended thing. I run the AP belt. Don't usually want to run the AP belt. Overall, you want to run better gear sets than this, because you know, you want to be tankier, you want to be able to trade, you want to be able to make more of your situation. Plus, the crit rings do get nullified by special attack evasion when that procs, so another thing to mention. Personally, I like to build more to the class's strengths rather than building for his weakness. So that means I don't really build for like Jin Histrias and stuff. I like building more about uh what he's good at. So for instance, he's good at killing quick, he's good at burst damage, he's good at grabbing. He has a lot of these good strengths. I don't like playing around kind of like, you know, like his weakness, which is supposed to be a stamina bar. His one of, well, lesser like trading potential. He's not one of the best traders, but he is a decent one, I'll say. So for instance, for that reason, I still run a bit of defensive stats like Blur, but I run magic AP artifacts. Now you can run Untouchable instead. I've seen a lot of people do it, but usually when you run Untouchable, you want to make more effect out of like resists. So for instance, let's say you're with a Shy, he can be, well, buff up your debuff resist, which is awesome. But overall, I don't usually get too many of those. If you find a guild with Shies, I'll be very happy to join. Just kidding. I like hanging out with my friends in here. But yes, overall, I like building towards like AP, for instance. You can run like evasion offhand and then like have like huge stats. Just like, whoa, well, I have my T1 crystals on, but yeah, you get my point. Speaking of that, this is what I run for T1s, T2s, Tier 3s. You can run a bunch of different ones. So for instance, if I'm running T1s, I'll run something more like Jin Histrias, because stamina is good. There's not much stats to take advantage of in this, but usually if we're in like T2 or Tier 3, I usually like running the special evasions, sometimes even ignore grapple resist. I also like running the absorption crystals, because Lightning Prism, when it tags a lot of things, especially with an elixir rotation, heals quite a bit. And the glorious crystals do increase your speed. And resists are nice to ignore, so Elcars are almost always a must in every build. Now my general build that I run is usually something like this. It is mostly taking advantage of our strengths. So for instance, we're pretty good at killing evasion, so I like to double down on killing evasion, so that's why I have the Jin Vipers. We're a pretty good evasion class, so I like building with Harfias, extra evasion. Jin special evasions, those are like a bread and butter of almost any build. Sometimes I wouldn't run it, but I just find that you really want to have these on almost all the time. Alucas crystals, speed, human damage, accuracy, you know, it's got everything. It's a loaded crystal. Corrupted's really nice, extra crit. I love damage, so woo! And then of course Elcars. And one thing that I didn't touch on too much is the ignore grapple resistance. I usually like running this because if you're fighting, let's say, Suck Corsair or Suck Sage, where it has built-in grapple resist, you're gonna wanna be able to hit these guys and grab them out of it because these classes can outtrade us. We're better at comboing against these classes. So, for instance, being able to outplay them through our grab and also grab being one of our biggest strengths over succession, we want to be able to take full advantage of this. So yeah, that's why I run Ignore Grapple Resistance. Sometimes for 1v1s, I run this build. So this one is, well, this one's just human damage. I just put on a bunch of damage. Usually do this against Zerkers or Warriors if I want to kill them easily. Overall, you don't need to run this. I take off the Jin Harfias because I'm more comfortable in 1v1s without my defensive stats. I still run the special attack evasion rate because it does feel very good to have that, especially when you're starting to lose some trades. But yeah, the more confident you are with your gameplay, you can run something like this for smaller fights. Another thing that I run, oh, not this one. Yes, this one. It is an accuracy build. This is usually what I run in order to kill, like, let's say, gauntlets that are stacking a bunch, so like Sissel Centaur. And then I run these with a different artifact set, which we'll go over in a bit. I usually like running this primarily in 1v1s. I don't really like running this in open world. You can, but keep in mind you might get time blowed from like halfway across the map and just die, and then might not even have enough AP to kill them. So this is more of a 1v1 build. Do it as you will. But overall, I think for general PvP, this one is the best one. It's 1v1, 1vx, takes full advantage of your strengths. For DR, you can build a little bit different. You can probably build like Red Spirits or Rebellious Crystals, depending if you want to be tankier. Overall, try out crystal presets. Find what works best for you. That personally works best for me. For artifacts, though, I run a few different ones. So, for instance, this is the one I run the most. Magic AP artifacts with Blur. And then also I run the Kudum. So this gives me a respectable amount. I don't really have my buffs up, but usually I go to 1,124 with buffs. Because I also have 10 Fallen Guys. Teehee. Yes. Magic accuracy. These are also another one that I like running. Sometimes you want a bit more accuracy in order to kill your targets. You can also run it with the accuracy offhand, along with that crystal build that we mentioned earlier. This will allow you to hit like about 1,000-ish if you run like sweep with it. So that's cool. Now, I don't usually run the double all evasion artifacts. You could run this with Untouchable and it makes you a bit tankier. There are some synergies that where, Untouchable is better than Blur. So yeah, try out both of them, see which one you like, let me know. In my personal opinion, I like Blur just because it's stats I can see. But the special attack evasion and being able to have resist is really nice. Now this one is the same thing. It's practically Blur, but with accuracy artifacts. I like running it personally. This one is magic AP artifacts with Blur. I like this one. Mostly I'll run this one the most. Magic AP, that is. Node War Fortint, as you can see, this one's just meant for cap Node Wars. It's when I want to be able to kill just flame towers and stack on it whenever the shock callers call me to. Yeah, you can run this for Node War. As soon as those flame towers are down, you want to swap to something like, for instance, target openings, which gives you extra crit that goes past the Node War caps. So yeah, definitely use this for if you want to do damage on caps. Sometimes I like running this with the evasion offhand. Personally, don't recommend it that much. I'm not a fan of like super big evasion stats. That's why I personally don't run the double evasion artifacts. Now, this one, don't listen to this one. This is just a meme. Sometimes I like doing superhero landings off of Garmoth Pit. That's why we're here. Now, this one is more of a 1v1 set. It is 2 magic accuracy artifacts with the sweep set effect. Now, this one allows you to kill evasion targets, let's say like strikers and stuff. You can usually build up to about like 1,000 accuracy, especially with the build I'm running with like Helric and stuff. I don't have buffs on right now, so it might not be looking the best, but yeah, you can get some really high numbers with this. especially with the crystal sets. But yeah, I only run this primarily for 1v1s. Now, this set, DR kill, so yeah, this is a cheap way of just getting like 24 extra human damage. You get some magic AP, nice, 32 extra AP to fight someone. You could sometimes burst down DR targets really well. Mostly prefer for 1v1. Sometimes you can run it 1vx, be able to like bomb people and kill them really fast. Up to you. If you're a DR player, give it a try. Maybe you could do some real big plays with like the Riftstorm core. Overall, that's about it. Sometimes I run like the damage reduction one. Don't recommend this. If you're a DR player, it does sometimes help you out in the 1v1s. Otherwise, I don't have much for that. I will say the current gear build I'm having, like around this, is pretty good for most sages. Maybe upgrade your thing a bit higher, and like you want these like as high as possible. Also upgrade your offense to like much higher rates so that you can get more of those stats. Other than that, run Clouded instead, which is supposed to be 125 HP per ring. You want to be able to trade more. I just love crit. And of course, the DR belt is always much better upgrade than the all AP belt. So, the title belt instead of the Nightfall one. Other than that, I don't have much to say about gearing advice. New region might change a lot, so I don't want to go too in depth about this. But yeah, if you're curious, Sage is more evasion than DR, in my personal opinion. Alright, there are a few bit odd techniques that you can actually use for Sage. I don't really find these techniques so useful, but they're kind of cool. I just thought I'd share them before we get to the final part of the video. It's supposed to be that you can actually save Interrogate for a while until like that. There's different ways of pocketing it. I'm not going to go too much into depth about it, but also you can pocket it by going into Impaling Flash, going into Rift, and then it'll pocket the Interrogate. It actually bothers me that it does this, but some people, they might like it. It's a bit odd. I haven't really mastered the technique of pocketing it. Maybe you can, but I find it to be more of a curse than anything. Really, there's also another cool trick. If you have the core Spear Bolt, you can actually do a Lightning Surge, WF, right there. I actually didn't, well, I barely moved, and then I actually was able to hit that guy in the back. Well, it doesn't actually go past their foreguard. It does look like it, but it actually repositions you so you don't entirely have to dedicate yourself when going after an enemy. Now, another different technique for this would be doing Spear Bolt. For instance, if we do Interrogate, there is a Aftershock, which it goes on cooldown. Now, sorry, I'm drawing blanks, but it's Aftershock goes on cooldown, so then you can use it after certain things. So for instance, Aftershock goes on cooldown, I use Interrogate, Spear Bolt as a knockdown instead of using Aftershock. Really cool stuff. Honestly, I don't know if you'll find many uses for this. There's only been a few times where I've been able to pull this off, but it's some interesting mechanics that you can try for yourself. Also, we did mention a bit earlier, but in case if anyone missed their skip the core section, you can actually go that into that, Enlightening Bolt into Interrogate. It'll do the forward animation only if you have the core. So for instance, I'm going to do it quickly without it on, and it'll actually do the sideways animation. Yeah, very cool stuff. Anyway, if you guys find out any niche techniques, let me know. I'm always looking to find more. I almost forgot one last thing. Although not really a niche technique, you can lightning surge off of a cliff, and it'll bring you instantly down to the floor. Sometimes you might get the fall animation. If it's too far, you still do take fall damage. And the only other way to really get down somewhere very fast would be Judgement. But Judgement is such a useful cooldown, you don't want to use it too quickly. So yeah, you can use Lightning Surge into Spear Bolt right as you land. Hunter's Clothes are actually really good for this guy if you want to do stuff like that. Helps with your rooftop playstyle, honestly. Yeah, good stuff. Alright, just as a heads up, combos, there's not really much to them. I'll let a few play out on screen, but for the most part, you want to use most of what you have in Awakening. If you can, finish off with Storm. Remember to use your Spear Bolt, Chain Lightning, or Enlightening Bolt, Ator Spear for the minus evasion, and keep RMB Shock Relay for the 30% crit rate, and F up in your combos so you have all those stats running. If you already have those stats, you can sometimes use like Ator's Illusion, Spear Bolt, and sometimes even Lightning Prison at the end of your combos in order to kill people as they're getting up, if they are getting up from your combos. I'll let them play out. Do enjoy. If you want more wacky combos, I can make a separate video about that, but I just want to make some bare bones ones for you guys to use. So yeah, here they go. Alright, so we're gonna go over some gameplay. Not much else to say. I'm going to show more scenarios where it's mostly me playing actively in a fight, not really like one-shotting some people to like get kills and whatnot. I feel like that's not a very good way to kind of like learn, because at that point you're just throwing SA skills to get kills. I'm going to show more methods and my line of thinking whenever going into a fight. Try to demonstrate how you can probably use this to better your gameplay as a sage, maybe even in general as a player if you're a bit newer to the game. So, let's begin. Alright, so in this example, there's not much fancy skills that will be done, but there's normally kind of like the ratting playstyle that you'll do. So for instance, taking advantage of range from rooftop right here. We hit that guy. Hopefully, unfortunately, we do not get the CC. Right here, I decide I see some people low. I use the BSR Ator Spear. Right now, I'm using Interrogate to kind of hit from the sidelines, hopefully not take too much range damage. And I see right over here a Ranger walking. I hit Dimensional Compression because usually those are the targets that wear the least amount of DP. You can actually take full advantage of that. Right here, I'm using Judgement and Impaling Flash to extend my iframes in order to get some catches. Unfortunately, we don't kill that guy with Spear Bolt Core. Right here, I see some people chasing me. I go Void Eruption, Q block in order to block some damage. And I decide, alright, shoot, I gotta get out of here. Use the Shift Q. Right here, you could use Judgement, of course, in order to escape. But yes, I needed to use it right there at that right time, because if you didn't see, there was someone that was about to hit me. A Drac. So my HP would have disintegrated if that guy actually touched me. So good on me for leaving, because yeah, that hurts. But yeah, I use Void Gateways right here just out of habit, just to reposition myself to a safer location. And as a side note, you can use most of your skills on this ramp. I'll link them, but a lot of your skills have good elevation on this ramp. You can use it to kill a lot of people. Yeah. This place, if you can, make it your home. Really strong spot for you. Now, this one is actually where I blow most of my stamina coming out of the spawn, which is a bad thing. You do not want to do this normally, but it pays off, especially since I was holding Void Gateways. As you'll see here, I go in, charge down the middle, worst idea ever. You're going to get hit by a lot of skills. So right there, I'm almost dead, low on HP. I'm just backing up because these guys now are just hungry for kills. I'm just trying to dodge. I hold Void Gateways here because I really need the stamina. Sometimes it works out like that, and I do catch both of them with a Shock Relay, and then I hit this guy down. Boom, bunch of damage. Even though I played poorly, I was able to survive just because of this. Now, what this means is you as a player should sometimes even sin your skills, even no matter how risky it is. And of course, yeah, you definitely want a lot of damage because in situations like these where people aren't wearing as much DP, you can take advantage of their mistakes much easier. While not the best example or like the most flashy like show of like Sage like skill or excellence, I gotta say this is a pretty good one in order to kind of learn what your role is. Also, I didn't have a crown meal on. That's kind of crazy. I don't know why I forgot that. But yeah, uh, if we're talking about it right here, this is where like, we're just kind of being bullies. We're going into their spawn. Right here, I'm gonna poke with Void Gateways. Gonna try and poke around, hit him with Upsurge, try and kill that Valk instantly. Did not work. Of course, right now I'm just chipping in damage, playing from the range. That's usually the way that you want to do it. Of course, right here I'm taking a heavy hit because Archer is very cool right now in the current meta. So right here, instead of sitting right there, I decide to go up here and wait. I'm checking to see if the red dots right there are gonna stay put. So I do see yes, so I decide to flank them, hit them both with the Ator Thorn in order to re-CC capitalize with Void Gateways. Right now I'm just dodging, try to go for the Impaling grab, I miss. And right here I see my teammates are now fighting over here, so I'm deciding to send some CCs that way. I'm a little bit frightened because now I have to like spam CCs in order to help this guy while I'm low on stamina. It does pay off because this guy has unnaturally tanky. And right here, what I did, if you didn't see from the wall, it's because it's a little difficult, but let's see, it's like right around here. I spammed both Enlightening Bolt, After Bolt, and Spear Bolt. That way I can actually try to CC both the Mystic, well, the Warrior and the Valkyrie. Now, this is usually how it's gonna be. You're gonna want to try and find some way to surprise your enemy from like a flank, from a judgment, or from somewhere from cover. Usually you don't do well in open field fights. It is possible to do well in them, but your strength usually lies with how much clutter and chaos there is in a fight. Alright, so in this example right here, it's an unsuccessful attempt at living, but it does teach some good principles about it. So for instance, in this gameplay, I will be trying my best to kind of like play around, hit people. There's a reason why I don't really like evasion offhand as much is because I'm not able to burst those people down for my teammates that are in there. Now, the only thing that I can really do right here is using Ator's Mark to try and make sure that the Mystic is kind of slow down their survivability. That way they'll die. Unfortunately, all my teammates die, so now I'm kind of having to like run around with Void Gateways, using my Spear Bolts whenever I can. Unfortunately, that guy resisted right there. And soon, with all of the stamina being burned, I'm going to have to go into slow casting skills in order to survive. This is old Judgement change, so that's the reason why I was able to do that. So right here, I'm about to reset. Hopefully gonna press my E buff, try and escape from them, use my grab, fail. Right here I CC the guy, but unfortunately I wasn't able to see it, so instead I decided to Divine Executioner out, use Impaling Flash because I realized there's gonna be a grab coming my way. And unfortunately, I shouldn't have sat right there because now my teammate's gonna get hits, and that was just a foolish mistake of mine. I was just really desperate for help. But now I'm extending my Void Gateways in order to survive, using the longer animation of Judgement, extending the Q portion, that way I don't run out of stamina too fast. So right here, I'm going to use Slow Upsurge, dodge with Impaling Flash, use the foreguard Void Gateways, try and block off some more, trying to my best to survive, using Spear Bolt iframe. Right here, I should have used Impaling Flash earlier. It does go on cooldown, but I die as a result because I did not use it fast enough. And that is part of the survivability that you can use. However, right here, as you can see, it was unsuccessful. You want to be able to put more pressure using Void Gateways. There wasn't much chances to, but really the best option right here would have been to leave via Divine Executioner right back to my spawn if I really want to survive. But I just want to see how the battle will go. Alright, this one's a bit more risky. I decided to go into this RBF spawn with low stamina for no apparent reason. I don't know what came over me, but I should have waited. But here's an example of what you can do if you're low on stamina and trying to fight, maybe trying to help out your teammates. So right here I get ambushed by this Kuno. I actually got scared. I almost like jumped out my seat. So right here, I'm trying to like damage trade this person because I believe the Megu is a priority target. Range is very bad. So right here, I also do an Enlightening Bolt to catch that guy. Now, while I could commit to that Wusa over there, I decide not to because that warrior could actually grab and kill me. Meanwhile, the Wusa has to kind of dump damage, so we have a better chance if we leave the Wusa alive. So during that entire fight, a lot of things transpire, but I'm going to slow it down a little bit. So for instance, right here, I Spear Bolt. Unfortunately, the CC didn't come out since it was Aftershock, and I decide, alright, I'm just going to try and use Enlightening Bolt. This guy was just, he was just an innocent bystander that got hit in the crossfire. I didn't really account for this, but it is pretty cool that I got the CC on him. So it's like, boom, hit that. And I was about to go around and try and kill him, but this warrior right here, even though, you know, you don't see any kills above his head or anything, or you're like, oh, well, you know, he's just kind of doing auto attacks. This guy still has a grab. He is still a dangerous threat. He can still Q block grab you. So, yeah, this guy is a priority to get rid of, especially since my stamina is low and I can't move. I want to get rid of this guy as soon as possible. So I go in for the grab. I decide to do Spear Bolt from it in order to do the knockdown. It wasn't intended, but I like to act like it was. You know, that is another niche use where Spear Bolt core actually did allow this guy to die. So right here, I'm holding Void Gateways, trying to like preserve my stamina. The Musa right behind me could have hit me, but right here, you know, he decided to go in for SA trades, unfortunately for him, and we got some CCs, we got some kills. I decided to go into that for some more damage in order to try to get this Maywa to back off. And I'm going into Judgement in order to secure some stamina, some HP. You can delay the Divine Executioner portion of it. Of course, you can't do the L and B flow anymore. This is before the buffs, so this is actually less damage than it usually would be. And I am wearing the Evasion offhand in this clip. Other than that, there's not much else to this. And yeah, this is how you usually kind of want to fight with slow stamina if you do need to help your teammates and whatnot. Now, this is a team fight. Believe it or not, I was just off on my own for a second because, you know, I escaped. I was a little weenie and I didn't want to die. So right here, that's why I'm starting kind of away from my teammates instead of where I should be. But yeah, you know, right here I open up with Void Gateways, try to CC the ninja. I could have mouse moved it in order to CC him, but instead I'm like, oh shoot, all the boys are coming. So I decide to run, use my Void Eruption to get a DP, scan the fight still. They're still chasing after me, so I decide to back up still, bring them towards my teammates, make sure I'm kind of like playing next to them. Now I'm burning a lot of stamina, usually just seeing, because alright, my teammates are actually good catch classes. I want to see if they can get a catch, and I can capitalize with my damage since I know they're a bit lacking on AP. This guy I decided to catch with the Spear Bolt, lucky for me, and since I was in the grass, I decided to use Void Eruption and then Dimensional Compression in order to secure that kill. Warrior could have gotten me, but he was a little too busy. So right here, I just decided to do a bit of a reseed capitalize. You don't want to actually use Interrogate that long though, because if you see, I'm going to slow it down for a second. So looking at your mini-map is very important as a player for being good, because right here, there's a white dot coming. And I knew this full well, but I was like, oh my gosh, that person's low on HP. So I was like, Interrogate. Even though I saw some like blasts coming at me, I decided to stay, and well, I got punished for it. That is something they have to watch out for. So now my teammates left one person down because I really wanted that kill. Not very good. But yeah, this warrior is very reckless. I take note of that, so I decided to go at him with the Void Gateways. Position around with him like, well, Impaling Flash. And now I'm just trying to play around my teammate. I decided to BSR because not because I'm afraid of the warrior gonna CC me, but because the mobs. Be careful, these mobs do CC you a lot. So right here, I'm trying to do as much damage as I can in order to help my teammates. Not really much I can do CC-wise. This teammate dies. This guy almost gets killed as well. But yeah, I decided to do Void Gateways, Shock, Dimensional Compression in order to secure the kill. And I do Shock Relay, maybe a Spear Bolt in order to actually probably try to finish it off. overall, you want to play next to your teammates. You can drag people towards your teammates. You're kind of like a Sork, not really like not really like as survivable as a Sork, but you have iframes. You can move a lot of distance off the mobs, as we showed through Impaling Flash and Spear Bolt. So yeah, and also you can use bush and cover in order to make it a bit more difficult to like grab you, especially since, you know, as sages, whenever we use skills, we sometimes go invisible during, like, let's say like Bolt when it's overcharged, and a few others like Impaling Flash and Spear Bolt were much harder to see. Now, this is an example I really like to show for the survivability working a lot better than like that last other clip with Mystic and Striker chasing me. So this one, we're having more preferable classes chase us, even though that they do a lot of damage. We can outplay them a bit more, especially we don't really need to do too much to kill them, of course, as well. Now, in this clip right here, there's a Zerker at the beginning. Eventually, he just leaves us because, you know, I'm pretty sure they're just having a good time. He was just bored of the fight. So right here, I go for a spatial collapse. Very risky move. Don't normally do that. I was a little bit scared. I did an S block. I was like, whoa, why did I do that? So then I start going around. I use Impaling Flash in order to actually get a little bit away. I'm trying to avoid that fist as much as possible. The Suck Sage right now is the priority in this team. Even though the Suck Meiwa can do a lot of damage, the Suck Sage can do a lot more to us that we would not very much like. So for instance, he could hit us with the evasion debuff. That's why I'm trying to focus him down. So I'm using a bunch of my iframe skills in order to rotate around him. Eventually I'm able to get off an impaling grab. He resists the knockdown, unfortunately. So now I decide to rotate around, try to get him with the void gateways. Luckily we got the witch in the crossfire. She was kind of just collateral. Now right now the Meiwa is low on stamina, I see, but I'm gonna try and pressure their friend back up a little bit in order to make sure that they feel like that they got the upper hand. Sometimes running away makes people think, alright, I can actually initiate on this guy, he might be low HP. Right here, this guy gets caught by the slow cast interrogate. Slow cast interrogate's been saving me this entire fight. I could use fast cast interrogate to do damage, but right now I'm wearing the evasion offhand, and I don't really have much AP with it, so it wouldn't help me too much. Right now, just rotating SAs, just being patient until they finally make a mistake or try to go for a CC catch, and that is how it ends. Now, I want to go a little bit more in depth about this. So, for instance, right here, this is what really defines like how well you work as Sage. So right here, I missed the Impaling Flash, by the way, because it doesn't work on iframes. So I'm at low stamina, low everything. This Meiwa's right here. If they went to my back, I'd be dead. But right now, I have to use Rift Storm. I go immediately into Fast Cast and then also Interrogate. That helped me regen a lot of my stamina actively in a fight while making them not want to actively fight me in this sense. That is something you have to look at a lot as Sage. And then while repositioning with the Spear Bolt, I was able to go for Enlightening Bolt, maybe go for some trades. Meiwas and Musas do not like slows, so, you know, right here, the slow is actually very detrimental. You want to hit them with it. It's something to remember. And of course, I'm going to Void Gateways because I really don't want to get hit by their evasion debuff again. And I'm like trying to avoid it. Just some smaller nuances to it. Of course, I still get hit by it, so, you know, hey, you're not always perfect. God knows I'm not, but yeah, that's where I fail. And then right here, of course, since he did another cast of his Rift Chain, that's another thing to keep in mind. You have to keep in mind the entirety of the battlefield, how someone's playing. So, for instance, earlier in the footage, we saw this Meiwa right here. He was running back over here for a specific reason. It's because he's low on stamina, because he was trying to poke around. He was using probably his Blind Thrust and Dragon Bite, which was draining his stamina, so that he couldn't fight me. That's something to mention. It allows you to actually either make more distance or realize, alright, I could probably pressure this guy. Of course, his friend was here in front of my L-shaped cooldowns, and, you know, at that point I decided, hey, I ran at this guy, try to run away, or try to kill this guy as soon as possible kind of deal. So yeah, noticing your enemy's cooldowns in a fight, playing patiently, this usually will pay off a lot in your fights, especially if your enemies don't have enough to kill you outright really fast. Alright, so this is a piece of footage that I'm actually particularly fond of. This is one of my proudest moments. Not because it's like I was fighting like, like the All-Stars Championship, but it felt really nice. It felt like everything was going well in this moment, except for a few moments, but I'll call those out as they happen. But starting off, we go over here. I try to pocket illusion. This guy's too what do you call it? Patient for his own good. He dies for it. So right here, I see a teammate. I'm like, I'm a little slow on stamina and HP, but I decide, all right, let's go in E buff. It's RBF. Who cares? I hit this guy with the Void Gateways, and then I decide to do some damage trading. And right now I see, all right, this Maywa's low. I'm gonna tag him with the slow. Try to hit him with the Chain Lightning. Then I spam my hotkey right afterwards to activate Void Gateways. I hit right here. This is like feels really good. So right here, I hit the Void Gateways on the Drac right over here. And then immediately I shock relay, hit the Spear Bolt in order to confirm the knockdown. Right here I see the Sork is being a little unsafe. So instead of like going into like let's say like a Lightning Prison or Upsurge, I decide to go into a Lightning Bolt in order to CC this guy since he's doing I think Dark Flame right here. So I hit that. I go into that. Boom. Hit him with the spear in order to re-knock down. I go into Lightning Prison in order to do some more damage. Then right here, it's just me just trying to fight this guy. So there's a little jump in this footage right here, but I remember exactly what happened. I did a foolish mistake where I used right here a Radiant Annihilation, and then I went to Upsurge because I was just so happy. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my god. But yeah, I geeked out for a bit, and I made myself look like a fool. It did lag it out, but yeah, right here, just know this gameplay was not flawless, by the way, and I was struggling really hard to kill this guy right here. Props to you. Right now, I just know someone else coming out, and I'm like, oh shoot. I do see some teammates over here, so there's light at the end of the tunnel. I try to like block, hold my essays right now, go for an Impaling Flash, try to just hold out for as long as I can until my teammates show up. I bolt over here as well. I get blocked by the pot, but there's a reason why I'm bolting over here. It's because I saw the warrior, and most of the time, whenever a warrior like is like appearing on the battlefield, they're not gonna want to like grab you or something because if they have to like jump in the middle of all those teammates, it might be a little risky. I don't mind if they do that and like combo me. At that point, it's my teammates' fault. But you know, in general, usually if you're in a group or something, people are more reluctant to grab you. Usually they're more comfortable whenever they're outnumbering you or it's a 1v1 situation. Now this one I've shown a lot in the video, but I just want to go over it. We do have a really good move set. I'm gonna add like a spreadsheet at the end of the video for if you want to like use ledge abilities in order to, like kill people or do what I'm doing. But there are some abilities that work really well on the ledges. We can be semi-range. We're not like OP like rangers, but I just want to go over real quick what I do. So for instance, in order to set up, I decide, all right, Realm of Ruin, some extra, like minus DP for those unfortunate souls that are just camping back in the spawn. So then I decide to go into Illusion Expansion in order to fire off the round. Shift Z, Realm of Ruin actually gets some kills right over here, kind of gaming. We do right here, Chain Lightning. Now, I gotta say, don't do SF. I'm just used to doing it after a combo. That's the only reason why I did it. There's a few other better ways, in my opinion. Of course, we could use Illusion Expansion again, and we can also use Spatial Collapse. There's also not really much after that. Of course, not I can think of off the top of my head, but I'll let you know at the end of the video. And of course, right here, I see someone has taken my position, and I was not very happy about that, so I decided to hit him with the stuff. We get a kill with the Chain Lightning to the side, if you saw. That's why Chain Lightning has great, range. And right here, I just go into like more range skills, of course, just firing off more. You can also use like different stuff like Ator Spear. Well, not Ator Spear. We use Ator's Mark. That's another good one. But yeah, overall, you can do range gameplay like this, especially when the situation suits you. Don't be afraid to try it. I mean, I've had some good success with it. But yeah, uh, here's the sheet right now. Take a quick screenshot of it, and we'll move on to the outro. Alright, if you guys made it to the end of the video, I gotta say it was very much a struggle to make all of this. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching everything. If you watched the whole entire thing, damn, you're a legend. I love you. Even if you don't like the video or you're like, oh, it's a little too much, I still appreciate you sticking up for me and my mannerisms, or even trying to check out the class. Like, it means so much to me that someone wants to actually, like, learn Sage, probably play its Awakening. It makes me so happy. You wouldn't even believe it. But yeah, there's a lot more sticking through my yeahs and whatever. It it makes me so like glad. I'm up at like 6 in the morning trying to edit the last part of this, and I gotta say, you you make me want to do this. Whoever's watching. And if you ever want like more like information about like Sage or something, I'm always willing to do more. I'm thinking about maybe even like doing like class guides. Uh, perhaps I don't know if I get a better computer, I'll be able to get out of this confined box around my screen. Uh, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. But anyway, if you have anything else or you want to like talk about stuff, uh, what have you, just say hi. My Discord, I'll leave it down below in the description, along with a few other things that I'll be updating as time goes by. Anyway, thank you so much, and hopefully, I'll see you next time.